Have you ever felt lost with your photography, bit overwhelmed, bit uncertain, going, how can I capture better photos? It's something where if you're asking this, you're certainly not alone. Many photographers go through where you go, just how can I get better with my photography overall? And a big key to this is understanding the big sections, the big pebbles, if you like, the big chain along creating great photos of being that confident photographer. And we'll go through the key sections to essentially photographic excellence. If you can understand these and go through these, it massively skyrockets your photography. Join me in this video. We'll go through the fundamental key areas that can transform your from this feeling from uncertainty to mastery to artistry. Without a doubt, one of the things that is the easiest to overlook, we're surrounded by information about cameras, software for our post-processing, doing all sorts of wonderful things, and they're all important, and we'll go over those. But the number one thing with your photography is to develop your observational skills. It's the first step to capturing really brilliant photos. The way to kick all that off big time is to become essentially an observer of the world around you. It is the number one skill in photography to see images around you. Now, whether you're going to a specific event to capture images or whether you're just capturing images around you, this skill will help in all these things. You become essentially more observant. You notice light, you notice shapes, you notice all sorts of things. You notice composition. This is the number one area of photography to focus on, is developing your photography eye, if you like. It's about your photography vision. It's your observational skills. The second big part of all this is understanding your camera, because it's all very well and good to see these amazing images in your mind, but now we've got to put them down. We've got to capture them with some sort of camera. And the number one thing to focus on, if you're just starting out or you're a little bit down the road even, and you need to revisit these fundamental things, exposure settings, understanding and mastering your exposure settings, and the focus. They're the two things to kick it off with. From there, it's about then learning the necessary things with your camera, depending on what type of images that you are trying to capture. As an example, if you're doing a lot of landscapes or really long exposures, you'll want to learn about mirror lockup and things like that to further stabilize your camera. But the initial thing is to just understand exposure settings and focus, getting comfortable with it. A lot of it is you have an understanding and then you have to go out and practice. So number one, build your vision. Number two is understanding your camera, initially with an emphasis on exposure settings and focus. Now, once you've captured some pictures, the next sort of big phase in photography, the big step, the big section of photography is this post-processing and editing. This area can become really anything you want it to be. It can be something quite straightforward and basic, or it can be pushed through to something where you can be spending day and night adjusting and further processing your images. I like to keep it as simple as possible, but at the same time, I have enormous respect for the more advanced things that can be done. I mean, it's amazing what can be done. It's fantastic. For me, a lot of images, it's just about improving perhaps a bit of contrast, maybe slight adjustments in highlights, things like that. But also, if you want to become more advanced and you're doing landscapes, as an example, you can literally sandwich your different images together. You can take different exposures of the same scene, sandwich them together, and create an incredibly detailed, beautiful image. Fantastic, which is the more advanced. And as I'm mentioning in this slide here, where you can be working with tools. So as an example, I've put here, there's many, many, many pieces of software now to choose from. But as an example, there's Adobe Lightroom, there's Photoshop, and you can spend a great deal of your time and a great deal of your energies in photography around all this. Or you can just go straight to something like Windows Photo app, where as long as you've shot it on a JPEG, you can just pop your JPEGs in, make the adjustments, a bit of contrast, side adjustment to exposure, something like that, crop it, you're done. So it's essentially it's a section of photography that is important, very important, because it can make a big difference. But often you don't have to do much to your images to make that big difference. I think that's a really key point. But this is another big section. So you have building your vision, you have understanding your basic camera settings. Now we're looking at post-processing and editing. And this can be, especially to begin with, I would keep it super basic and then build on it if it's something that interests you, or if you find that your images need extra work to bring the best out of them. Now, the next big section in photography, to build your photography, to develop your photography, to build the artistry, if you like, to take your photography to another level, is to share your work. And it can be a wonderful joy. You go out there, you put a lot of effort often to create these images. You do create images that take a lot of time, focus, energy, a lot of passion often goes into all this. Sharing your work is a wonderful way, a wonderful springboard to further improve your photography. It really is. It's another big step. So again, build your vision, grasp your camera settings, post-processing, basic or advanced. Suggest you keep it basic when you're starting out. Then we move on to sharing your work online. And this it could be on an Instagram page, it could be a more advanced. There's all sorts of photography pages out there to share them on, photography groups on Facebook, etc., etc. Many places, but just simply sharing your work. And it doesn't always have to be online. You can be hanging your pictures up in your workspace. All sorts of ways to share your work. It doesn't always have to be online, but online sharing is obviously at your fingertips and something that is very powerful and fantastic. Now, the next big section around this whole thing of developing your photography, of becoming a better photographer, of being a more capable photographer, of getting better photos, is around finding inspiration. At some point or another, I believe every photographer needs inspiration. Now, this can be gained in different ways, and two classic ways is through the work of other photographers. Now, these photographers might be famous photographers, or they might be photographers you've never heard of, but you just love their work. And the other way to get this inspiration is simply through the passion for the subject. You might be a motorsports fan, so you get out there, you're on getting the action, getting pictures of the drivers, getting pictures of the action. The subject just drives your inspiration. You just love it. Might be you're keen on gardening, and there you are doing macro shots of the plants or something, and you just love it. You're getting beautiful shots of those particular flowers, those particular herbs, or something like that. It can be that's what just drives you. But at some point or another, working with different subjects or finding those subjects that inspire you, or through the work of other photographers, or indeed both. That's how you find inspiration whenever it lulls off a bit. You can do this. It might sound a lot, but truly you can do it by breaking these things down, even just in your mind. Now that once you've done all this, you're going to face challenges, and they'll come at you in all sorts of ways, and it will knock you back with your photography. And the key here is practice. It's another big section of photography. Practice, practice, practice. One of the great things about it is that you take some photos, you see some results, you go back to the same scenario or something that's similar to it and have another go. Refine, refine, refine. And be kind to yourself. It's so easy as photographers. You go, oh my goodness, it's not sharp. I've missed the focus. Or what was I doing using that shutter speed? Am I crazy? It's just like, how silly can I be? What was I thinking? The answer is it's so easy to be discouraged and going, oh my goodness, you know, that was a real opportunity to get great photos and I haven't. How disappointing. And it's very easy to sort of heap on ourselves and go, oh my goodness, you're not a very good photographer. And it's easy to say, don't do that. But the key is to pick your camera gear up again, whether it's your telephone, whether it's a truckload of photographic equipment. It's about just going out and practice, practice, practice. And it's so easy to say, don't get discouraged. But the way to reduce that discouragement is to go out and have another go at it. So I really do congratulate you on essentially embarking on what is a really exciting journey. And all these things that might seem overwhelming, you go, oh my goodness, I just thought it was a matter of picking up a camera. I'm not thinking about this other stuff. They are the big areas. If you want to take your photography to another level, I believe that those are the big, chunky areas to look at to improve your photography. Now, if you want to continue along this exciting journey, subscribe and stay tuned to my videos. Also, you can explore my online course at improveyourphotography.com. And also share your thoughts below this video. Drop in a comment below about which area you find most exciting to explore, which ones perhaps you find the most challenging, which ones have the most interest, as I say. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Photography is the most wonderful thing. It is the most exciting medium, and sometimes it can seem overwhelming. But I do believe that by breaking these things down into, say, the big sections, if you like, it can be very helpful. So in your mind you go, oh, I get it. I see this. I see that. And then what we'll do is that we'll make some independent videos, some separate videos, and we'll tackle each section more comprehensively. So go out and enjoy your photography, and I'll catch you in the next video.